My beloved child, I need to speak to you about something that you have been carrying without fully understanding what it is. There is a soul, a person, who has been connected to you in ways that you may not have fully recognized. A person whose life has intersected with yours in moments that were not accidents, whose path has run parallel to yours in ways that you perhaps dismissed as coincidence, who has appeared in your story at key junctions without you fully grasping the significance of their presence. I have called this soul poor, and I use that word carefully with full intentionality, because I want you to understand exactly what I mean. This soul is poor, not in the way the world defines poverty. The poverty I see when I look at this person is not primarily material, though material lack may be present. The poverty I see is spiritual poverty, an emptiness, a hollowness, a want of something that money cannot purchase and circumstances alone cannot provide. This person is poor in peace, poor in hope, poor in the knowledge of being loved, seen, and valuable, poor in the understanding of their own worth and the awareness of my presence in their life. And when I say this soul was yours, I mean something specific and profound. I placed this person in your path. I arranged the intersections of your lives. I orchestrated the moments of contact because I had designated you as one of the instruments through which I intended to address that poverty. Not through you providing material resources necessarily, but through the overflow of what you carry, the light in you that this person needed to be near, the love in you that this person needed to experience, the faith in you that this person needed to witness, the words, the warmth, the presence that I placed in you and that were meant to be extended toward this particular soul. I want to speak to you about this today because something in this story has reached a critical moment. The soul I am describing needs something from you. Not in the distant future, not eventually, not when it becomes convenient. They need it now. And I am sending this message to wake up the connection that you perhaps allowed to grow quiet, to reactivate the awareness of this person's place in your story, to call you back into the role I designed you to play in their life. Who this soul is and why their poverty matters. My beloved child, let me help you recognize the soul I am speaking about. This is a person who has intersected your life in a way that was never fully accidental, even if it appeared so at the time. They may be someone you know well but have gradually drifted from. They may be someone in your peripheral vision, a person you are aware of but have not invested in. They may even be someone who came to your mind recently in an unexpected way, a face, a name, a memory, and whose presence in your thoughts you dismissed as random. It was not random. That impression was me. The poverty in this soul has a history. It was not born in a day. It developed over years of accumulated hurt, disappointment, unmet need, and the slow erosion of hope that happens when a person carries too much alone for too long. They have been in a spiritual dry season, a season of emptiness and quiet despair that they carry with a composure that hides its depth from most people. They appear to be managing. They appear to be fine. But underneath that composure is a need that is real, deep, and urgent. The poverty I see in this soul is multidimensional. There is a poverty of belonging, the deep loneliness of feeling that they are not truly part of anything, that they are on the outside of every circle that matters, that there is no community, no person, no presence that holds them as genuinely essential and irreplaceable. There is a poverty of identity, the absence of a stable sense of who they are and why they matter, which leaves them susceptible to the voices of the world that define them by their failures, their limitations, and their most difficult seasons. There is a poverty of hope, a diminished capacity to believe that the future holds anything genuinely better than the present, that change is possible, that things can be different in ways that actually last. These poverties are the enemy's work, built patiently over time through accumulated wounds, reinforced lies, and unanswered cries. They create conditions under which the enemy can move with unusual freedom, because a person who has lost hope, who does not know their worth, who feels permanently on the outside of belonging, is far more vulnerable to every form of enemy attack than one who is anchored in these fundamental realities. This is why the moment is urgent. The poverty in this soul has reached a point where the next significant intervention, positive or negative, will have a disproportionate impact on the trajectory of their life. The enemy is aware of this. He is positioning to exploit the vulnerability at its peak, but I am also aware of it, and I am dispatching you, yes you, as the counter-intervention, as the instrument of grace, connection, and truth that can change the trajectory at the moment of maximum impact. Comment now. Lord, show me the soul you have placed in my path. I am ready to be your instrument. Write this as your declaration of availability, not just willingness in principle, but active readiness to be used in exactly the way I am describing. What angels are doing right now on this soul's behalf. My beloved child, I want you to understand something about the spiritual activity around this poor soul at this moment, because it will help you understand both the urgency and the hope of what I am asking you to do. There are angels fighting for this person right now. Not metaphorically, not as a comforting image. Actually, angels of heaven, dispatched from my presence, engaged in spiritual warfare on behalf of this soul that I have called yours. They are fighting against the spiritual forces that have been working to maintain and deepen this person's poverty. They are fighting against the spirit of despair that has settled over them. They are fighting against the enemy's plan for this soul's life, which is to deepen the isolation until it produces outcomes that are not recoverable. The angels are fighting and they are not losing, but they are engaged in a battle that has a natural realm component. And that natural realm component involves you. Because the angels can do the spiritual work, but they cannot do what you can do. They cannot be physically present with this person in a way that feels human, warm, and real. They cannot sit across from them with a cup of coffee and say, I see you. And they cannot reach through a phone and say, I was thinking about you today and I just wanted to call. They cannot speak with the voice of one human being who genuinely cares to another human being who genuinely needs to be cared for. That is your assignment. The angels do what they can do. You do what you can do. And when both happen simultaneously, when the spiritual warfare of heaven is combined with the tangible, visible, physical love of one of my children reaching out to this poor soul, the impact is extraordinary. The two dimensions working together create a force that neither could create alone. This is the design I had in mind when I placed this soul in your path. Not just that you would be a nice person who was kind to them when paths crossed, but that you would be a consistent, intentional, spiritually conscious instrument of my love toward this specific person at this specific time. That is a high calling. It is also, in practice, a very simple one. Show up, reach out, be present, speak love. Let your presence be the physical expression of what the angels are doing in the invisible realm. Today only, in the first pinned comment, there is a gift I have placed there for you. Angels are fighting for you. 21 days of supernatural protection. This is a resource that will help you understand the spiritual battle happening around the people you love and the principles of angelic intercession and protection that are available to you and to those in your circle. Go to the first pinned comment and receive this gift. It was prepared and placed there specifically for the person who receives a message like this one, a person who cares about a soul that is in danger and needs the spiritual tools to fight for them effectively. Comment now. I see the angels fighting for this soul and I join the battle with my love and prayers. Let this be your declaration of co-laboring with the angelic work that is already underway. On the spiritual poverty that only you can address. My beloved child, let me go deeper into the nature of the spiritual poverty in this soul, because your ability to address it depends on your understanding of it. I said earlier that this person is poor in peace, in hope, in belonging, in the knowledge of their own worth. But there is a specific aspect of their poverty that I want to address now, one that is directly connected to the assignment I am giving you. This soul is poor in the experience of being truly seen and genuinely valued by another human being who is themselves connected to me. There is a specific quality of being seen that can only come from someone in whom my spirit lives, because what they see with my eyes is not just the person's circumstances or their behavior or their surface presentation. They see the imprint of my design in the person. They see the gifts that have been buried under layers of hurt and failure. They see the worth that was placed there before the wounds were inflicted. They see the person I designed before the world got to work on dismantling them. This specific quality of being seen with my eyes, through someone who carries my spirit, is something this soul has rarely experienced. And its absence is one of the deepest reasons for their poverty. Because when a person is never seen in this way, they begin to doubt that the version of themselves that was designed by me even exists. They come to believe that the person they have been told they are, by wounds, by failure, by the world's assessment, is the true one. And that belief is one of the most powerful instruments of spiritual poverty there is. You have the capacity to provide this specific quality of being seen. Not because you are naturally gifted with perfect spiritual perception, but because as you move through your own relationship with me, as you carry my spirit, as you see people with the eyes of faith rather than the eyes of the world, you have access to a way of seeing others that most people do not have. And when you choose to use that way of seeing on behalf of this poor soul, when you look at them and communicate, I see who you really are. I see what has been in you before the wounds came. I see what God designed when He made you. You are giving them something that has transformative power. Think about what that kind of being seen does for a person who has been unseen for a long time. Think about the shift that happens in a person's spirit when someone looks at them with genuine recognition. Not pity for their poverty, but recognition of their worth. It is not merely emotionally significant. It is spiritually catalytic. It creates the conditions under which the lies of the enemy about this person's worth can begin to be dismantled. It opens a crack in the wall that allows my light to enter and begin the work of healing the poverty from its root. This is the specific gift you carry for this soul. The gift of being seen. Use it. Extend it. Look at this person with the eyes I give you and speak what you see. Comment now. I will see this soul with God's eyes and speak what God shows me. Let this be your commitment to the kind of seeing that produces transformation, not the seeing that evaluates and judges, but the seeing that recognizes and declares worth. The 21 days of fighting for this soul. My beloved child, I want to call you into a 21-day commitment on behalf of the soul I have described to you. 21 days of intentional, consistent spiritual engagement, prayer, declaration, and practical love directed toward this specific person in your life. Why 21 days? Because significant spiritual transformation rarely happens in a single moment. It happens through sustained, consistent application of spiritual force, prayer that accumulates, love that persists, truth that is spoken repeatedly until it begins to penetrate the walls that poverty has built. 21 days is not a magical number, but it is a framework, a container for consistency, a commitment that creates the habit of sustained engagement rather than occasional intervention. Here is what the 21 days looks like in practice. Day 1 through 7 is the week of prayer. During these 7 days, your primary focus is intercession, targeted, specific, faith-filled prayer for this soul. Use the prayers I give you. Pray daily for their identity, for the dismantling of lies, for the breaking of spiritual chains, for angelic activity on their behalf, for divine appointments, for an encounter with my presence that shifts something in their spirit at a deep level. 7 days of consistent prayer builds a spiritual foundation that the subsequent weeks build upon. Day 8 through 14 is the week of presence. During these 7 days, in addition to continuing in prayer, you actively create moments of connection and presence with this soul. Reach out. Be intentional about being in their life in a way that communicates, you matter to me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm choosing to be in your corner. This presence does not need to be heavy or spiritual in its external presentation. It can be very ordinary. A text that says, I was thinking of you. A call to check in. An invitation to share a meal. The ordinary acts of presence that communicate extraordinary worth. Day 15 through 21 is the week of truth. During these 7 days, in addition to prayer and presence, you begin to speak truth, gently, wisely, in the right moments, in the ways that this person can receive, about who they are in me, about their worth, about the gifts I placed in them, about the future that is available to them. You become in these days not just a warm presence, but a truth-speaking presence, one who carries a vision of who this person is meant to be and is willing to speak it with love and conviction. Comment now. I commit to 21 days of fighting for this soul. I will pray, be present, and speak truth. This is your covenant, the commitment you are making before heaven and in your own heart to the sustained engagement that will make the difference in this person's life. And in the first pinned comment, angels are fighting for you. 21 days of supernatural protection is waiting for you. 21 days of angelic protection and intercession aligned with your 21 days of human engagement. The combination of your prayers and the angelic activity in this resource creates a sustained, multi-dimensional force on behalf of the poor soul I have described. Go to the first pinned comment and receive this gift today. And also consider the membership invitation there. The invitation to go deeper with this community, to receive these messages consistently, to have the ongoing spiritual support that a 21-day commitment requires. Step into it. The soul I have described to you is worth it. What happens when you obey this call? My beloved child, I want to speak to you about the outcome, the beautiful, redemptive, glory-filled outcome that flows from your obedience to this call. Because I want you to have a vision of what is possible, not just an awareness of the need. When you commit to the 21 days, when you pray faithfully and show up consistently and speak truth wisely, when you allow yourself to be the instrument I designed you to be in this soul's life, things begin to happen that are remarkable in their scope and their speed. The poverty begins to lift, slowly at first, then with increasing momentum. The darkness that has settled over this person's spirit begins to thin as your prayers, combined with the angelic activity I deploy in response, dismantles the spiritual structures that maintained the poverty. The lies they believed about themselves begin to lose their grip as the truth you speak plants seeds that the Holy Spirit waters. The isolation they experienced begins to feel less total as your consistent presence demonstrates that they are not, in fact, invisible to everyone, that at least one person sees them, values them, and has chosen to stay. A flame begins to reignite. Hope, that specific quality of orientation toward the future that had been so dim in this soul, begins to return. Not dramatically or all at once, but in small movements. A moment where they allow themselves to think that maybe things could be different. A morning where they wake up and the heaviness is slightly less than it was the day before. A conversation with you where something you said lands in a place that has been empty and seeds something that will grow. And in that space of returning hope, I move. Because hope is the field in which I plant, and when the field is prepared and when the poverty has been addressed enough that hope has room to take root, my word and my spirit can do the deep transformational work that permanently addresses the root of what has been wrong. This soul's testimony will include you. When this person looks back from the other side of the poverty and into the fullness of what they become, when they tell the story of when everything began to change, your name will be part of that story. The moment you showed up will be remembered. The call you made, the truth you spoke, the consistent presence you maintained, these will be chapter markers in their testimony. And in telling that story, they will bring glory to me, and some portion of that glory will flow through the faithfulness of the instrument I used, you. This is what obedience to a divine call produces. Not just an intervention that helps one person in one moment, but a ripple effect that extends outward through time and through the people that person's changed life will touch. A redeemed soul is a stone dropped in still water. The ripples reach further than any of us can initially see. Comment now. I will be the instrument God designed me to be for this soul. I commit to the call. This is your final declaration of obedience. The yes that says you receive the assignment, and you will carry it with faithfulness. Go now to the first pinned comment. Receive Angels Are Fighting for You. 21 days of supernatural protection. Begin the 21 days today and step into the deeper access that is available through the membership invitation also in that comment. You are being called to something significant. Make sure you are fully equipped for it. A word to you about your own poverty. My beloved child, before I close this message, I want to speak to something in you, because there is a dimension of this call that touches not just the soul I have described, but you yourself. When I speak of this poor soul whose poverty you are called to address, I am aware that there are ways in which you too carry your own form of spiritual poverty. Everyone does. The person who has walked with me for a long time still has areas of unmet need, unreceived love, unaddressed emptiness. The call to address poverty in another is not made on the assumption that you yourself are fully complete and have nothing you lack. It is made to someone who is, like all of my children, in the process of receiving and growing. And here is what I want you to know. The act of giving what you carry to this poor soul is also an act that enlarges your own capacity to receive. When you speak identity over someone else, you reinforce your own. When you demonstrate to another person that they are worth sustained investment and presence, you affirm to yourself that that kind of investment is available and real. When you love someone through their poverty without conditions, you open yourself more fully to the same kind of love that I carry for you. The call to address this soul's poverty is not only for their sake, it is also for yours. You will emerge from these 21 days having given something significant away, and having received something even more significant in return. The poverty you yourself carry will be addressed in ways both visible and invisible as you faithfully carry out what I am calling you to do. So receive this call not just as an obligation or an assignment, but as an invitation to participate in something that will transform both the person you are being sent to and the person who is being sent. Both of you will be changed by what happens in these 21 days. Both of you will come out on the other side carrying less poverty and more of what I designed you to carry. This is the economy of my kingdom. The giving away of what you have is the mechanism by which you receive more. Not the careful, anxious management of limited resources, but the generous, faith-filled overflow of what you have been given, flowing toward those who need it, and in flowing, multiplying. Be generous with this soul. Be generous with your prayers. Be generous with your presence. Be generous with your truth. And watch what happens as the generosity you extend becomes the very channel through which your own poverty is addressed, and your own fullness increases. Comment one final time. I go as God's instrument. I give what I carry, and I trust God to fill what I give away. This is the perfect declaration for this call. The declaration of a person who understands the kingdom economy and is willing to operate within it. Go now. The soul is waiting. The angels are ready. The 21 days begin today. And in the first pinned comment, everything you need for the journey is waiting for you. Brimav, living in the reality of what has been declared. My beloved child, there is a practice that I want to impress upon you as you navigate the period between the declaration and the full visible manifestation of what has been promised, a practice that is deceptively simple but extraordinarily powerful. The practice of living in the reality of what has been declared. What does this mean in practical terms? It means choosing, day by day, to inhabit the world that my declaration describes rather than the world that your current circumstances describe. Not in a way that ignores reality. You cannot ignore a bill because you have declared abundance over your life. Not in a way that produces recklessness. You cannot spend money you do not yet have because you are expecting a miracle. But in a way that is internal, attitudinal, and spiritual, choosing to think from the position of the promise rather than from the position of the problem. Choosing to speak from the position of faith rather than from the position of fear. Choosing to plan and dream and imagine from the position of who you are in Christ, rather than from the position of what your circumstances currently allow. This is what the scriptures mean when they speak of calling things that are not as though they were. Not lying about reality. Not pretending the difficult things are not difficult, but choosing to operate from the higher reality, the spiritual reality of what God has declared as the primary framework, and allowing that framework to inform how you engage with the natural circumstances. This practice requires discipline not because it is unnatural in the kingdom sense, but because it is unnatural in the flesh sense. The flesh defaults to the visible. The flesh interprets current circumstances as final reality. The flesh says, when my circumstances change, then I will believe. Faith says the opposite. I believe, and therefore my circumstances will change. The practice of living in the declared reality is the practice of faith as a lifestyle, not an occasional experience, but a daily orientation. How to practice it? In the morning, before you engage with the day, spend a few minutes living in the declared reality. See yourself in the provision that has been promised. Feel what it is like to live on the other side of the breakthrough. Let that vision be the posture you bring to the day. Speak the declarations. Today, I live as someone whose financial transformation has begun. Today, I operate as someone whose provision is in motion. Today, I carry the expectation of someone who is in their breakthrough season. Throughout the day, when circumstances press against the declared reality, when a bill arrives, when a challenge presents itself, when doubt threatens to reassert its familiar voice, return to the declaration. Not with forced cheerfulness, not with denial of the difficulty, but with the stubborn spiritual reflex that says, yes, but this is what God has declared, and God's declaration is more final than this circumstance. Let the declaration have the last word in every internal conversation about your situation. In the evening, review the day for evidence of the declared reality showing up, even small evidence, even a thought, a conversation, a moment that felt different from the usual that carried something of the quality of the season that is coming. Notice it, name it, give thanks for it. The accumulation of these small noticings builds a case in your spirit for the reality of what is happening, and that case becomes the foundation of an unshakable expectation. Comment now. I choose to live in the reality of what God has declared. Today, I inhabit the promise. Let this be your daily declaration, the choice you make, renewed every morning, to inhabit the world that God's Word describes. And in the first pinned comment, receive the tools that support this practice. The Code of Divine Inheritance. How to activate the abundance that is already yours will give you the specific declarations, the specific prayer structures, the specific kingdom principles that make this daily practice both sustainable and effective. Go to the first pinned comment and receive this gift. And also, the membership invitation, the deeper access, the community, the ongoing stream of messages that will support you in this daily practice over the long term. Both are there. Both are for you. Your gratitude changes the atmosphere. My beloved child, I want to close this message by speaking about something that may seem small but that carries extraordinary power. Gratitude. Specifically, the gratitude you bring to this moment, to this message, to this declaration, to this season, and the effect it has on everything that follows. Gratitude is not merely a polite acknowledgement of good things. It is a spiritual force. It is one of the most powerful creators of atmospheric change available in the human experience. When a person inhabits genuine gratitude, not performed gratitude, not gratitude expressed because it is expected, but the deep, genuine, welling up from inside kind of gratitude that comes from truly seeing and appreciating what is present and what is promised, something shifts in the spiritual atmosphere around them. The atmosphere becomes hospitable to blessing. It becomes resistant to the enemy's strategies of discouragement and diminishment. It becomes aligned with the character of heaven, which is itself an atmosphere of unending gratitude and worship. This means that your gratitude in this moment, reading this message, receiving this declaration, choosing to believe and align with what has been spoken, is not just an emotional response to good news. It is an act of atmospheric creation. You are, through genuine gratitude, creating the spiritual conditions in which the provision that has been declared will be most fully and most quickly expressed. Give thanks now. Not because things are perfect, not because everything has already manifested, but because you are in the window, because the declaration has been made, because the God who speaks these words is faithful, because the season has arrived, because you stopped when you could have scrolled, and in stopping, you received a word that is real and that is changing your life. Give thanks for the car that is coming. Give thanks for the house that is coming. Give thanks for the financial transformation that has been declared. Give thanks for the healing of your mind. Give thanks for the $1 trillion miracle in motion. Give thanks for the $2 trillion provision that has been released. Give thanks for the secret deposit. Give thanks for the new beginning of the April-May-June window. Give thanks for the future millionaire season that you are in. Give thanks for every one of these things, even before they are fully visible, because they are real. They are declared by the God who does not lie, who does not revoke, who does not say one thing and do another. And give thanks for this community, for the people who will receive these messages and walk this road together, who will be the companions and the encouragers and the fellow testimonies of what God is doing in this season. Go to the first pinned comment and receive the resources there, the Code of Divine Inheritance, and the membership invitation. These are expressions of my provision for the journey, not just a word in a moment, but tools and community for the ongoing walk. Comment now, one final time for this message. I am grateful for the provision coming, for the season here, for the God who declares and delivers. Thank you. And let gratitude be the last word of this message and the first word of the day that follows. Step into your breakthrough season with gratitude, faith, and full expectation. Everything declared is on its way. Open your hands, standing firm when the manifestation is delayed. My beloved child, I want to speak to you about one of the most challenging aspects of the receiving season, the period between the declaration of a breakthrough and its full visible manifestation. This is the period that tries faith most severely, because the gap between what has been declared and what is visible can feel, if you are not spiritually prepared for it, like evidence that the declaration was false. It is not. Let me say that with all the authority of heaven behind it, a delay in the visible manifestation of a declared breakthrough is not evidence that the breakthrough is not coming. It is evidence of the time it takes for what has been established in the spiritual realm to complete the journey through the natural processes of the material world. And that journey always takes more time than the immediacy of the declaration might suggest. Consider how long a seed is underground before it breaks the surface. The planting of the seed happens in a moment. The declaration of a harvest is implicit in the very act of planting. But the time between the planting and the emergence from the soil is often long, and during that time, there is no visible evidence that anything is happening. The soil looks exactly as it did before. The ground is unchanged in appearance. And yet, beneath the surface, something extraordinary is in motion. The seed is germinating. The root is developing. The shoot is forming, all invisible, all real, all in process. The breakthrough you have declared over your life is a seed that was planted when you received these messages and aligned your faith with what I spoke. The harvest is real. The breakthrough is real. But the time between the planting and the visible emergence is part of the process, and it requires something from you that perhaps nothing else in life develops as thoroughly: the patient faith that holds steady in the absence of visible evidence. How do you hold steady? By reminding yourself, in the moments when doubt presses in, of what you know rather than what you feel. You know that God does not lie. You know that what was declared with authority. You know that your faith is connected to a provision that is real and in motion. These things you know. They are the anchor. When the feelings say nothing is happening, the knowing says yes it is, even though I cannot see it. You also hold steady by maintaining the practices, the morning declarations, the prayer of alignment, the expectation carried into each day that keep you in the posture of receiving rather than the posture of giving up. These practices are not optional extras during the waiting period. They are the primary mechanism by which you maintain the spiritual alignment that the provision pathway requires for complete manifestation. Comment now. I hold steady in the gap between declaration and manifestation. My faith does not require visible evidence to stand. Write this as the declaration of a person who has graduated from faith as feeling to faith as conviction, the faith that is not dependent on the immediate gratification of visible result, but that holds to what is known about the nature of the God who declared it. And the testimony that will follow. My beloved child, let me paint for you a picture of something that is coming, not the breakthrough itself, which I have already described, but what comes after the breakthrough has fully manifested and settled into your life. The testimony. The testimony is the story you tell when someone asks, "How did this change happen in your life? How did you go from where you were to where you are now?" And the answer you give will be one of the most powerful things you ever speak, because it will carry within it the evidence of a living God who speaks into people's lives through moments like this one, who provides in ways that defy natural explanation, who honors the faith of those who hold on. The testimony will be specific. It will not be a vague, "I trusted God and things got better." It will be precise. I was in a season that felt like it would never end. I received a word, I heard a declaration that something was about to change. I chose to believe it, to declare it, to act on it, even when nothing visible confirmed it for a period of time. And then, in a way that I could not have engineered, things began to shift. Provisions arrived from sources I did not expect. Doors opened that I had not knocked on. Circumstances aligned in ways that I could not attribute to my own cleverness or effort. And I know that what I had been told was real. That the God who spoke was the God who delivered. That the declaration was not empty words, it was the advance announcement of what was already written. That testimony will reach people. It will reach the person who is in the middle of their own waiting season and who desperately needs to hear that it ends, that the waiting produces what was promised. That the faithful holding on leads to the breakthrough that was declared. It will reach the skeptic who needs evidence of a God who is real and active and specific. It will reach the parent who is fighting for their child. the worker who is standing on a word about provision, the person who is one step from giving up on the promise they received. Your testimony is not just for you. It is for the entire sphere of influence your life touches, and it will echo beyond even what you can currently imagine. Carry it in advance. Even before it is fully formed, carry the expectation of the testimony you will give. Let it be part of what sustains you in the waiting. The knowledge that not only is the breakthrough coming for your own sake, but that what God does in your life in this season will become the testimony that builds someone else's faith. Comment now. My breakthrough is coming and my testimony is being written. I will tell what God did. Let this be your advanced declaration of the testimony, your commitment to both receive the breakthrough and to tell its story when the time comes. And now, my beloved child, one final time, go to the first pinned comment. The gift that has been placed there, the code of divine inheritance, how to activate the abundance that is already yours, is the practical guide for everything I have spoken in this message. Every principle, every declaration, every spiritual strategy for receiving and maintaining the breakthrough, it is there. And with it, the membership invitation, the deeper access, the community, the reserved messages, the ongoing stream of revelation for the journey. Both are there. Both are for you. Receive them. Step into the fullness of this season with everything heaven has provided. The breakthrough is real. The testimony is coming. The God who declared it is faithful. And you, my beloved, chosen, prepared child, are ready to receive and to tell what he does. In the covenant of protection over your children and your home. My beloved child, I want to speak deeply with you about something that touches the very core of who you are. Gao. Something that, when under threat, shakes you more profoundly than any financial pressure or personal crisis ever could. I want to speak to you about the covenant of protection that I have placed, from before the foundation of the world, over your children and over your home. Your children are not accidents. They are not biological outcomes of random events. They are my designs, souls I formed, assigned to your home, entrusted to your care, and covered by my covenant specifically because I knew what they needed and what you were capable of providing. Before they were born, I knew them. Before they drew their first breath, I had a plan for their lives. A plan that included you, your love, your intercession, and your presence in their story. The enemy has known about this plan from the beginning, and because he has known, he has worked from the very earliest chapters of your children's lives to introduce threats, confusion, temptation, and destructive influence into the spaces where they are most vulnerable. He is not attacking your children randomly. He is attacking them specifically because he knows what they carry, what they are destined for, and what their lives represent as expressions of my purpose in the generation they belong to. This is why the warning you have received today is not something to dismiss or minimize. The enemy's attacks on your family are real. The dangers circling in the spiritual realm around your household are real. But here is the truth that must anchor you in the face of this reality. My covenant of protection is also real, and it is greater than anything the enemy can bring. The covenant of protection operates this way. Every soul entrusted to your care is covered by my watch and your intercession. The specific named intentional prayer you offer for each of your children is the primary practical instrument through which that covering is activated in the physical realm. My protection exists as a spiritual reality for every believer's household, but it is activated and applied through the partnership of prayer. You are not merely spectating while I defend your family. You are partnering with me, co-laboring in the spiritual realm to give practical expression to the protection that the covenant guarantees. What does this intercessory partnership look like? It looks like naming your children before me specifically, not in a vague, God protect my family way, but in a specific, focused, declared way. Lord, I cover, name, with the blood of Christ. I declare that no weapon formed against them shall prosper. I rebuke every plan of the enemy against their mind, their body, their destiny, and their soul. I declare them sealed and protected under your covenant today. This specific named intercession is powerful. It puts spiritual walls around the specific individuals named in ways that general prayer does not. It looks like maintaining the spiritual atmosphere of your home intentionally. The atmosphere of a home is shaped by what is spoken in it. Words of faith and love establish a frequency that is inhospitable to the enemy's operations. Words of fear, strife, cynicism, and hopelessness establish a frequency that makes the enemy comfortable. I am not saying that a family in difficulty has only themselves to blame for what the enemy does, but I am saying that the habitual spiritual atmosphere of a home, the dominant spiritual climate, is one of the factors that either facilitates or hinders the free operation of enemy activity within it. It looks like being present, spiritually and physically, in the lives of your children in the critical seasons when presence matters most. I have not called you to be a provider only. I have called you to be a priest in your household, a spiritual covering, an intercessory presence, a person whose daily walk with me creates a spiritual environment that protects those who live under the same roof. Comment now. I activate the covenant of protection. I cover my children and my home with the blood of Christ. No weapon formed against my family shall prosper. Write this with the authority of a parent who understands their intercessory role and is choosing to step fully into it from this moment forward. What the enemy plans and what I have already planned in response. My beloved child, the warning that has come to you today is not meant to generate fear. It is meant to generate spiritual action or specific, targeted intercession and practical wisdom applied in the specific areas where threat has been identified. So let me speak clearly to you about what the enemy is planning, and then let me speak even more clearly about what I have already planned in response. The enemy operates according to patterns. He does not have unlimited creativity or unlimited power, He is a created being, limited by what he is permitted to do, and working within the constraints that my sovereignty has established around your life. His plans for your family typically follow several predictable tracks. The first is relational fracture, the introduction of offenses, misunderstandings, and bitterness into the relationships within your family, particularly between you and your children, and between your children and each other. Relational fracture is one of his most effective strategies because it works slowly, progressively, and often under the radar of small misunderstandings that grow into significant distance, small offenses that harden over time into walls. He introduces the seed. Time and unaddressed pain do the rest. His goal is not merely to damage the relationship it is to isolate individuals from the protective covering of the family and make them vulnerable to the more destructive attacks that can follow. The second track is directional compromise, the introduction, at critical decision-making moments in your children's lives, of voices, influences, relationships, and opportunities that lead them away from the path of their destiny. A friend who normalizes destructive behavior. A relationship that demands that they choose between it and everything that has shaped them. An ideological environment that systematically undermines their faith and their identity. These are not random developments, They are specific, targeted placements designed to redirect the trajectory of your children's lives away from what has been designed for them. The third track is identity erosion, the systematic attack on your children's understanding of who they are, whose they are, and what they are worth. Identity erosion is increasingly one of his most effective tools in this generation. A generation that has grown up swimming in messages about identity crisis, and the constant renegotiation of self-definition. His goal is to get your children to build their identity on foundations that will not hold on peer approval, on performance, on the shifting metrics of digital culture, so that when those foundations inevitably shift, the resulting identity collapse makes them vulnerable to far more destructive influences. Now, what have I planned in response? For every relational fracture he introduces, I am working through your intercession to reopen channels of communication, soften hardened hearts, and create moments of vulnerability and reconciliation that, when entered into, produce relationships stronger than what existed before the fracture. The fracture he intends to make permanent, I use to create the conditions for a deeper honesty and a more genuine connection. For every directional compromise he introduces, I am placing counterweights of people, moments, experiences, and quiet impressions in your children's spirits that call them back toward their intended path. The call toward destiny is persistent. It does not give up easily, and even when a child has wandered significantly from the path I prepared for them, I do not abandon the pursuit. I am the shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one. Your child is the one I am pursuing. For every identity erosion strategy he deploys, I am working through the culture of your home, through your words and your example, through the community of faith I have called your family to be part of, to build a foundation of identity that does not shift with culture or peer pressure or the volatile metrics of digital comparison. The identity I am building in your child is rooted in something the enemy cannot touch, or the irreversible fact that they were made in my image, purchased by my son's blood, and called by my specific, irrevocable purpose. Comment now. I see the enemy's patterns and I reject his plans. I declare that every scheme against my family is defeated by the power of God. Write this as a declaration of informed faith, Ariwowo, faith that sees the threat clearly and chooses to stand on the covenant rather than being paralyzed by what it sees. When the season of restoration is already beginning, my beloved child, the warning in this message has its other side. The declaration of what is coming on the heels of the threat that has been named. I am not a God who only warns. I am a God who warns, who arms, who covers, and who then brings restoration that exceeds the threat that preceded it. The warning and the restoration belong together, and understanding this connection is crucial to receiving everything this message carries. The season of restoration for your family is already beginning. Not will begin, already beginning. You may not see all of it yet, but the movement has started. The things that have been damaged in your family relationships are the distance that has grown between you and your children, the wounds that have gone unaddressed for too long, the conversations that have never happened are These are the targets of the restoration that is now in motion. Restoration, in its fullest sense, does not merely return things to how they were before the damage occurred. It returns them to a state better than the pre-damage condition a state that would not have been possible without the trial, without the damage, without the painful recognition of what had been lost, and the desperate turning toward me in the hope that what had been broken could be repaired. This is the pattern I have worked through in family after family, generation after generation. I take what the enemy has broken, and I build something from its restoration that exceeds what the enemy destroyed. The first sign of this restoration is usually not a dramatic event, It is a small opening, a conversation that goes differently than expected, a child who reaches out after a long silence, a moment of shared vulnerability that cuts through the layers of distance and touches something real. When you see these small openings, do not minimize them. They are the first light of the dawn I am bringing. The small opening is the beginning of the full restoration of not a preview of what might happen eventually, but the first actual expression of the movement that is already fully in motion. Your role in this is to stay soft, to remain available, to resist the temptation, which the enemy will press upon you particularly hard in this season. To harden in response to the difficulty, to armor yourself against the pain of the relationship by withdrawing from it, to protect yourself from further hurt by making yourself unavailable to the very opening that would begin the healing. Your availability, your willingness to be present, to have the conversation, to risk the vulnerability of genuine engagement even when it is painful, is the soil in which the restoration will take root. Comment now. I declare restoration over my family. Every broken thing is being healed, every distance is being closed. I stay open and available. Let this be your declaration and your commitment. To remain open to the restoration that is already in motion, even when the daily circumstances make it feel distant. Intercession, the most powerful thing you can do right now. My beloved child, in light of everything that has been spoken in this message, I want to close by giving you the most practical, most powerful, most immediately actionable instruction I can offer. Intercede, right now, for your children, for your household, for the specific people and situations I have named. Do not wait until you have processed this message fully, until you feel sufficiently spiritually prepared, until the right moment presents itself. The right moment is now. Intercession is not complicated. It is not reserved for those with special training or extraordinary spiritual gifts. It is the simple, direct act of bringing someone you love before the Father and standing in the gap between their vulnerability and His protection. It is the act of saying, Lord, I cannot fix this. I cannot protect them the way they need to be protected, but you can. And I am bringing them to you, wow, naming them, covering them with the blood of Christ, and declaring that your covenant of protection is activated over their lives. Begin with the name. Speak the name of your child, your family member, the person the enemy has targeted. Speak it clearly, out loud if possible, because speaking out loud engages your whole person, wow, voice, body, spirit, wow, in the act of intercession rather than keeping it as an internal mental exercise. When you speak the name, you are saying, this specific person, the one I am naming, is the one I am bringing before you. Then speak the blood. Lord, I cover, name, with the blood of Jesus. And this is not religious formula, It is the application of the most powerful spiritual weapon that exists against the plans of the enemy. The blood of Jesus is the currency of the new covenant, the price that purchased the protection you are applying, the seal that marks the one you are covering as belonging to the household of God and therefore outside the jurisdiction of the enemy's legitimate claims. Then speak the defeat. I rebuke every spirit of, name the specific threat, fear, confusion, depression, addiction, destructive relationship, physical illness. I declare it broken, bound, and cast out of, name's life in the name of Jesus. No weapon formed against them shall prosper. Be specific about what you are rebuking. The specificity of intercession is part of its power. You are not conducting a vague spiritual operation. You are deploying targeted spiritual authority against a specific named threat. Then speak the destiny. Lord, I declare that name will fulfill everything you designed for their life. The purpose you placed in them before they were born cannot be stolen, cannot be destroyed, cannot be redirected. They are yours, and they will arrive at the destination you have prepared for them. This declaration of destiny is the positive complement of the rebuke crow. You are not only pushing back what the enemy is doing, you are advancing the purpose that God is building. Do this daily. Make it a practice, a rhythm, a non-negotiable part of how you begin your day. The parent who intercedes for their children daily is building a spiritual covering that accumulates that becomes increasingly substantial, increasingly effective, increasingly impermeable over time. This is the most powerful thing you can do for your children. More powerful than any amount of material provision. More lasting than any piece of practical advice. More protective than any security system or strategy. It is the covenant applied through a parent's faithful intercession, and it works. Comment now. I rise up as an intercessor for my family. I cover them with the blood. I declare their destinies are secure in God. Write this as the declaration of a parent who understands what intercession is and who has chosen from this day forward to be the consistent spiritual covering their family needs. The gift left for you in this moment. My beloved child, before you leave this message and return to the demands of your day, I want you to pause for just one more moment and receive the gift that has been placed in the first pinned comment. It is not a product. It is not a commercial offering. It is a resource prepared for this moment, for the parent who has just received this warning and these instructions and who needs the practical framework to implement them fully, consistently, and effectively in the life of their family. The resource is called The Code of Divine Inheritance. In the context of this message, a message about family, about children, about the enemy's plans and God's covenant of protection. It contains the specific section on household covenant protection, the practical guide to activating and sustaining the spiritual covering over your home and your children that this message has described. It contains the intercessory framework, the specific, structured approach to daily family intercession that produces the accumulated spiritual covering you have just been instructed to build. It contains the wisdom for navigating the relational restoration season, how to stay soft, how to receive the small openings, how to facilitate the deeper conversations that will do the work of healing. This resource is there because the message is not enough alone. The message opens the door. The resource gives you the tools to walk through it, build consistently on what you have received, and sustain the spiritual posture that this season requires. Go to the first pinned comment now. Take it. It was placed there for you, for this moment, for this message, for the specific situation you are navigating with your family. And as you do, consider the membership. If your heart is drawing you toward the ongoing companionship of deeper messages, toward the sustained encounter with revelation that goes beyond the occasional video, the invitation is there. It is not a subscription to content. It is an invitation into the deeper waters of the spiritual community that has gathered around the revelation I am releasing in this season. The messages there are reserved. The access there is deeper. The community there is genuine. If you are being drawn or follow the drawing, the door is open. The first pinned comment holds the key. The battle in the heavenly realm on your behalf. My beloved child, I want you to understand something that is almost too vast for human language to contain you, Rao. Something that would transform the way you pray, the way you wait, and the way you interpret everything that has been happening in your life and in your family. I want you to understand the battle that has been fought and is being fought in the heavenly realm on your behalf. There is a realm that your physical eyes cannot see, a dimension of existence that is as real as anything you can touch, smell, or measure. Awambao. More real, in fact, because the physical world you inhabit is itself a derivative of the spiritual realm, a projection of spiritual realities into material form. In that invisible realm, there is a war being fought, not as metaphor, not as mythology, but as literal spiritual combat, over you, over your family, over your destiny, over the outcomes of the days that are now in front of you. The Apostle Paul described it with precision that has lost none of its relevance. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. This is not poetry. This is the description of an actual ongoing military conflict in which you are not an innocent bystander. You are a combatant, whether you choose to engage consciously or not. On one side of this conflict stands the enemy and his assigned forces, the principalities and powers who have been given specific assignments against your life, your children, your household, and your destiny. They are not omniscient, omnipresent, or omnipotent, They are created beings, limited in their power and jurisdiction, but they are real, they are organized, and they are committed to executing their assignments with whatever permission and power they can access. On the other side stands the Father, His legions of angels, the Holy Spirit who lives in you, and the cloud of witnesses, including everyone who has ever prayed for you and whose prayers remain active in the spiritual realm. On this side also stands the blood of Jesus Christ, the most powerful spiritual force that exists, the substance that purchased your freedom and established the terms of your covenant, the barrier that the enemy cannot cross without your invitation. And here is what I most want you to understand. The battle has already been won. Not will be won, already won. The decisive victory was established at Calvary. The enemy is not fighting a battle whose outcome is uncertain. He is fighting a battle whose outcome is settled, delaying and contesting and harassing where he can, but without the ability to reverse what was accomplished when Christ said, "It is finished." Every attack he launches against your life and your family is an attack made by a defeated enemy, one who has not yet accepted his defeat in every territory, who fights in the places where he can still exercise some purchase, but whose ultimate fate is sealed and whose ultimate victory is impossible. You are on the winning side. The battle over your family is not in doubt. What is not yet fully resolved is the timing and the process. The details of how the victory that has already been won in the spiritual realm will be fully expressed in the material realm of your daily life. And your intercession, your choice to engage actively with the spiritual reality of the battle, is the primary practical instrument through which the timing and the process are shaped. Comment now. I understand the battle. I stand on the winning side. The blood of Jesus covers my family and the enemy is defeated. Write this with the settled confidence of someone who knows the outcome of the battle they are in, Not uncertain hope, but settled faith based on what was accomplished at Calvary. Are the names written in heaven. Your family's destiny cannot be stolen. My beloved child, before I release you from this message, I want to speak to you one more time about something that undergirds everything else that has been said. The irreversibility of the destinies I have written for your children. Before your children were born, before their personalities were formed, Before the circumstances of their lives began to shape and challenge them, I had already written their destinies, not as rigid blueprints from which no deviation is possible, but as deep purposes, Imuaro's core identities, specific callings, essential roles in the story of their generation, Imuaro, that are meant to be discovered and inhabited, and that persist through every detour, every failure, every season in the wilderness. These destinies cannot be stolen, they can be delayed, they can be obscured, they can be temporarily buried under the debris of poor choices, painful circumstances, and the accumulated weight of the enemy's interference. But they cannot be stolen, Awalawar, because they are written in heaven, in the book that the enemy has no authority to edit or erase, and because the one who wrote them is committed to their fulfillment with a commitment that does not waver in the face of opposition. This is one of the most important truths you can carry as an intercessor for your children. You are not praying into uncertainty. You are not hoping that maybe, if everything goes well, your children will find their way to some good outcome. You are co-laboring with the one who already knows what the outcome is, who has already written the destiny that he is committed to fulfilling, and who needs your intercession not because he lacks the power to accomplish it without you, but because he has chosen to work through the prayers of covenant parents as the practical instrument of destiny's delivery. Stand in that. Intercede from that place of Burwawau, not from fear, not from desperate uncertainty, but from the settled position of someone who knows that the destiny is written, that the author is committed to it, and that the intercession they are offering is the agreed-upon instrument through which that destiny will arrive in the lives of their children. Comment now. My children's destinies are written in heaven and cannot be stolen. I co-labor with God through intercession to deliver what He has designed. Write this as your declaration of intercessory authority, Arao, the statement of someone who prays not from fear, but from faith in the one whose plans cannot be frustrated. One final word before you go. My beloved child, you have sat with this message long enough to know that what has been spoken here is not ordinary content. Something in you recognized the voice. Something in you responded to the truth. Something in you, Ayo. The deepest part, the part that the noise of daily life drowns out when you are not paying attention, Iwao, was moved. That movement is not accidental. It is not the result of compelling presentation or emotional manipulation. It is the response of a spirit that recognizes truth when it hears it, because truth carries a resonance that nothing false can replicate, Aburawam. A specific frequency that the human spirit, made in the image of the one who is truth, cannot mistake when it encounters it honestly. You encountered it honestly today. And that encounter carries a responsibility, Adirauklao, not an obligation, not a burden, but a responsibility in the highest sense. The call to respond to what you have been given, to not let this moment pass without allowing it to produce what it was sent to produce in your life. The response is simple. Comment below. Speak your faith publicly, even if only in a single line, Awa, even if only, I receive it, I believe it, I declare it. That declaration, made in this public space at this specific moment, is an act of spiritual courage that will return to you multiplied. Then go to the first pinned comment. Everything that was prepared for this moment is there. Wow, the resource that takes what you received in this message and gives it the practical structure to produce lasting change rather than temporary inspiration. It is there. It is yours. Receive it now. And if, as you do, you feel the stirring toward something more amairao, the desire for ongoing depth rather than occasional encounter, for sustained revelation rather than sporadic encounter, amairao, the membership invitation is there too. It is an open door. Walk through it if you are being drawn. The deeper waters are real, they are ready, and they are for you.